5, 10 minutes. But it's a battle of the experts. So I've brought in my own expert to try to work through all this. Dr. Daniela Schreier joins me here all the way from Chicago. Great to see you.
No, great to be here with you. Thanks.
All right, let's start here because there's a few terms that are being thrown around by both sides, the experts.
Sure.
You know, what is it? Borderline personality disorder,
Sure.
PTSD, victim of domestic abuse. First question, is it possible that both sides could be correct? That someone could be the victim of abuse, could suffer from PTSD, and also have borderline personality disorder?
Yes, but I do not think that this is the case with Jodi Arias, Vinny.
Okay, so what are you seeing from Jodi Arias?
Well, I am not analyzing her. I'm just like your psychological, expert looking in from the outside.
We listened to her for I don't know how many hours, 18 days on the stand, so we all got a good idea of what's going on here to a certain extent. But tell me your opinion.
I do think actually that she has a very interesting personality structure. And I always say that from the beginning that she has what I call a quiet border personality structure, and there is a lot of cluster B traits like narcissistic traits that she doesn't want to be rejected. It's like baby is not going to be put in the corner. We saw that even on the stand. And I also think unfortunately there might be some antisocial traits here. People on the outside are quick to say, oh, she might be psychopathic because this is what they jump to, but I rather think it's a very interesting cluster B that made it up at the beginning, that she's like a chameleon. She fits in very well. She meets this man that she I think really thinks she falls in love with. She sees him as the father of her babies, and then she finds out, hey, he's not living in your reality. And initially, I think she tries to cling on, and that's when her facade breaks open, because she sees he's not wanting what I want. And if you are not in the Jodi Arias world, you will have a problem.
Yeah.
All right?
She wanted to spend her life with him, have children with him. What do you think was going on in this relationship? Because Travis Alexander didn't push her all the way away. But, you know, she would show up 3 o'clock in the morning. She'd crawl through the doggy door. Do you think Travis Alexander was just, okay, she's here. We enjoy each other's company in the bedroom. So if she's here, I'll be with her?
Well, I think they got both something out of it, right? For her, she wanted to go further, and she wanted to be with him, and she wanted to say, hey, I normally get what I want. Let me try that a little more. And they both, I think, enjoyed the sexual activity that they actually had. And for him, I want to say it is like the goals were not aligned. And when goals are not aligned, nothing good comes from it. When you find out as a woman that a man doesn't want to be with you in that way, you try to walk away, and it takes a while, but she wasn't ready to let go. So I do think that he was also intrigued by her. It means she was very pleasing. She made a lot of compliments to him initially. And the man can also be kind of feeling good about himself when a woman is jealous of him. And I think later on, this is why he did not report her to the police when he felt maybe stalked, etc. You don't do that. Your ego is built up. And sexually, she was very willing, as it appears, and she said that too. That was nice for him, because often women in his community might not be sexually active prior to marriage. So I think he saw a pretty woman that was very much into him, but that doesn't change his mindset.
Do you think at any time he thought about a future with her? Or do you think from the beginning the relationship was sort of defined by the very aggressive sexual nature of it, and he would always look for a different kind of woman to marry?
I think it is very interesting. Maybe when he met her first, it's the Cinderella story. He met her at the big convention. She didn't have a dress. He got the dress for her. That's when, for her, she thought that has a happy ending. And maybe even for him, he thought, I met an interesting girl. She's a little bit outside of the box. But very quickly, really, it went into the sexual part. And it doesn't mean if people have sex the first date that they cannot marry.
No.
But I think that his mindset was really never there. He tried to convince himself maybe that he was trying to look for the right woman. But if you're not really convinced, and you know that as a man, you know, if you are not ready to marry, you will not marry.
You're not going to marry. Dr. Danielle's with us. We expect everyone to get back into court relatively soon. They're scheduled to come back just about now. So when they do, you'll see it and hear it right here on Making It in America. Is it just me, or is Jennifer Wilmot starting to sound a little bit like Juan Martinez during her cross-examination? The defense going after the prosecution's rebuttal witness, trying to discredit her evaluation of Jodi Arias. Joining me now, Dr. Daniela Schreier. She's a forensic psychologist joining us here in studio. Great to have you here. How about this? How difficult is it to get a diagnosis or evaluate someone who you know is a big-time liar?
Well, the fact is, in a forensic evaluation, what you do, we depend on test data. So you give them a series of tests that is appropriate for what you're testing for. The first thing is you give them a lingering test. You assess, what, they have secondary gain. It's the avoidance of punishment. So do they produce any, for example, signs psychologically or medically in order to avoid that punishment, going down in prison or jail, right? And so we have kind of a couple of barriers here that a person basically has to overcome. It's good for the client, or better say the defendant, and also good for the psychologist, because is she exaggerating? Is she maybe telling the truth? Is she actually saying that she feels worse than she is? And Dr. DeMarte has actually explained that in her series of tests, in a variety of tests, Jodi came up looking not too good.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Here you see the Great Seal of the state of Arizona. We'll take you back inside the courtroom when everyone reassembles. It should happen any moment. You'll see and hear all the testimony right here on Making It in America. And we are getting close to those closing arguments. Right now we're in the rebuttal case. Juan Martinez presenting his witnesses, trying to address what came up during the defense case. And right now inside the courtroom, we're waiting for everyone to assemble. And as soon as the testimony resumes this afternoon, of course, you'll see it and hear it right here on Making It in America. In the meantime, got my own expert, Dr. Daniela, is with me here on set. Borderline personality disorder. What does that mean? And is it something that can be fixed?
Well, the thing is, it is actually a personality disorder, meaning it's long-standing, it's developing maybe in, later adolescence, it's very apparent then into adulthood, and generally it translates into every aspect or area of your life. Nowadays, there is actually treatment for it. We have Dr. Marshall Linehan, who has developed a treatment. This is dialectical behavior therapy. It's a combination of the traditional cognitive behavioral therapy with mindfulness techniques added on, etc.
So it's more like counseling rather than medications?
Well, sometimes you add on medication as well, because remember, it's in the cluster B of personality disorders. So often it doesn't come alone. It comes with, for example, depression, very often, substance abuse. It can be alcohol or drugs. It comes very often with impulse control problems, and you would be maybe medicated for the depression, etc., more than for the personality characteristics. But remember, whenever something happens, what are you doing? You're going back to your old patterns. And in this case, when you have a frantic, need for always being with someone, or you have a fear of being abandoned, what do? You go back to your old coping mechanisms.
All right, All right, the first sidebar of the afternoon already. They didn't even begin testimony. Juan Martinez and the attorneys, you see, going over something. His expert still on the witness stand, psychologist Janine DeMarte, and she's still being cross-examined by Jennifer Wilmot. So as soon as the testimony begins, of course, you're going to see and hear it right here. Dr. Daniela is with us here, my own expert. How about Jodi Arias here? You see anything, like the way she is in court each and every day? What do you think's going through her mind as she sits at her own death penalty murder trial? Well,
you can take her own words for it. She says, no jury is ever going to convict me. And at various times it came out that she or her lawyers actually want to go for a mistrial. I think there's lots of hope and entitlement that despite the fact that she is actually paid for by the taxpayer of Arizona, that she's mightfully thinking that she's thinking, that she might go free.
That she might walk out of that courtroom.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. What if Jodi Arias walked out of that courtroom? Would she be able to, how would she survive in society? How would she be able to interact with people, especially now that people know who she is? How do you think that would go down?
Well, but you remember, even now, she has male visitors in jail. She has still friends and supporters. There's a strong base of people who say, yes, she's very guilty. She should actually get murder one, right? That's what many people think. But there are other people out there that say, let Jodi Arias free. On Twitter only, I got that the other day.
So you think there'll be a certain group or faction of people that will gravitate towards her? Do you think it'll be more more men than women that would do that?
I obviously think so. It is very interesting because the people who are so fascinated in this trial that
she's accused of killing her ex. She did kill him. She's accused of murdering. You think there's guys out there that would want to date her?
Oh, absolutely. It means we see it even now. People are interested. They even defend her. They say that, oh, she might have been a victim of domestic violence and she did that just to strike back. That was self-defense. And that makes her even more interesting. But look into serial killers as Ted Bundy. I'm not comparing her now. Women were standing in
you're
line.
right. You're right. Always the women were attracted. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, testimony should be resuming inside the courtroom.